I'm here today with Michael Gough from Vantage, and we're going to be talking about how you can serve your clients better with tax investigation insurance. So hello, Michael.
Hello.
Hello, Michael, and I can't wait to get started. Good morning and welcome to this webinar with Michael Gough from Vantage Fee Protect, who is going to be sharing with us how you can use the tax investigation insurance in order to better serve your clients. And I'm sorry, Michael, I stumbled over that. If you'd have seen us doing this rehearsal a minute ago, you'd have known it took loads of times. But anyway, welcome along and good morning, Jeff. I do potentially need more coffee, but at the moment I'm on green tea in order to cut down on the caffeine in order to help me sleep better. So that could well be the reason why I'm stumbling over my words this morning. Anyway, as always, it's the questions that you ask during the course of this webinar that make these sessions unique. So if you have a question that you would like Michael to answer, or indeed me to answer during the course of this webinar, please pop them in the Q&A box to the right of the left-hand feature button on the bottom of your screen, and we will gladly answer them. And as I say, I am open to questions today as well around how we use Vantage within Greenstones and how we transition from not having anything to having a client-only policy to having an all-client policy, and now it's all included within the fee. So please feel free to answer those questions as we go along. But without further ado, I am going to give a virtual round of applause to Michael.
Hey.
Go, Michael.
Good morning. How are we all? Hope we're all doing okay. So thank you for inviting me along and giving this presentation and a bit of a talk to you all about fee protection. Also wanted to take the opportunity to give you all a bit of an update on what Vantage are seeing from the revenue and what we're seeing in 2021, or what we have seen so far in terms of inquiries and their activity. So without further ado, I will just give you my screen and we can get rolling. Sorry, that was a bit of a technical hitch there. Good start. So yeah, tax investigation update and talk through some fee protection services as well. Go through all the inquiry activity that we've seen throughout. Talk about the dreaded COVID and job retention scheme and self-employment schemes. Give you some claims trends. I know you'd be interested to sort of hear what inquiries have been coming in. So in 2021, Q1, January, February, and March of this year, 102,000 inquiries were opened, which is up from 75,000 in Q4, which is almost 4 times higher than an all-time low. Now everyone knows what was going on in 2020. There was only 27,000 inquiries in Q2. Q2 is actually probably one of our busiest periods for inquiries. So the revenue definitely increased its volume. Its tax take by 29 is about 31%, but 14.2 billion. Massive amounts of tax take back that have been inquired into. They've obviously upscaled their activity and really focusing on reducing the tax gap once again. So COVID, 1.3 million employers have claimed under CJRS. That was as at the 21st of June. With over 11.5 employees have been put on the scheme, or at least part of it during the scheme in total. So as at 2020, 10% of claims were paid out incorrectly, supposedly, and the revenue identified 27,000 high-risk cases by autumn 2020. I'll come on in just a bit about what Vantage is seeing, but it was around about August last year that we were having a discussion with our claims department about when we would expect the first inquiries to come in. And it was actually around about the 18th, 19th of August that the first inquiry did come in. So in terms of the whistleblower line, the revenue had over 8,000 calls. That was sort of believed to be £3.5 billion may have been claimed fraudulently or by error. They did a nudge letter campaign with over 3,000 letters per week being issued from late autumn. So the activity has really started to ramp up now, and more inquiries are coming in. And again, I've got a graph, a chart later to show you what Vantage are seeing in terms of inquiries. And you'll see there's nothing really specific that they're targeting. Everyone is open to an inquiry, no fault of an accountant, no fault of the client a lot of the time. Their Connect system, which they've heavily invested in, seems to send out a significant number of inquiries and letters just on the back of various trends geographically, postcodes, different specific business nature. There's no traditional sort of industries that are being targeted, so it's sort of a vast array. At 30th of June 2021, HMRC have opened 6,150 claims into CJRS. Each of these cases, the revenue do believe significant overpayments as a result of fraud or significant errors. If I remember rightly, they are all open to be corrected or challenged by the agent, by you, the accountant. Self-employed income support schemes. Obviously, it was the client themselves who were making the claims. Now, if there is an inquiry, if there's work that the revenue are asking about, of course, the agent, the accountant, yourselves will be able to act upon behalf of the client. At present, Vantage are the only provider of fee protection services which cover self-employed income support schemes inquiries. So that work to go back to the revenue, look through the returns, look through the claims, will actually help recover that time that you would spend handling the work for your client. HMRC are self-correcting any 21 return that includes what they believe to be an incorrect amount. So, as I said, they are subject to appeal by the taxpayer or the agent if you believe them to be incorrect. So do challenge them. They're quite open to discuss them and go through the detail. So hit the important bit. What are we seeing? So to date, I think it's about 84, 85 claims now. And I said we had the first inquiry in August 2020. We've had 81, 82, about 83 now registered. 9 claims have been closed with nil cost. That was because they were deemed fraudulent. Fortunately, been established. The largest grant repayment to date that we've seen is about 18,500. We've got 23 claims that have been closed with an average cost of £770. Now, as I'll touch on just a bit, fee protection, there's no right or wrong way. There's no certain amount that you want to charge per hour. The fee protection is completely tailored to your practice. So the average cost of an inquiry, for some it might be more per hour, some might be less, but we're seeing an average cost of about £770. We've still got 49 claims that are open. They've had an average budget allocated to them of about £400. They're likely to continue and increase. We estimate around about that £700, £800 payout per claim, which potentially, if without fee protection, is billed either back to your client or you're writing off that cost. where you could be handling other work. So it is a big portion that of time and fees that potentially you could be losing out on if you haven't got fee protection.
Michael,
So
can you
Yeah.
just go back to that slide for me just for a minute? So it's just I've got a couple of questions around it, if I may.
This one.
Basically, as it stands, Vantage have seen 83 claims specifically related to CJRS.
Yeah.
And the self-employment grants as well. And basically, 10% of those claims have been fraudulent on behalf of the person making them.
Yeah, that's correct. So
Okay.
the claim and a lot of there was a few in the early days where they were claiming for furlough, and it turns out they had PAYE going in as well, and it was sort of quite clear that the employees were still working even though they were classed as being on furlough.
Okay, so roughly 10% then were fraudulent, and if the claim is fraudulent, then Vantage don't obviously cover the cost of protection.
We don't cover the cost of the time to handle that inquiry. So it is quite key to try and establish or work out from the outset whether you think that your client has been fraudulent by claiming the furlough payments.
Okay, thank you. And then of the 23 that's been closed, the average cost of the accountant defending those claims has been £770. That's the average.
That's correct. Yeah. So the time handled dealing with the inquiry, the accountant's time value is an average of 770, so nearly £800. It's a good significant amount of fees that accountants could be losing out on if they're not protecting themselves.
Brilliant. Excellent. Thank you.
It back to the client.
Okay. Excellent. Thank you. Cheers, Michael.
Is that okay? So we know the revenue will continue to increase its activity. There's a pressure from the Treasury to fill the black hole. The amount that they've spent on keeping the economy afloat or businesses going, and the amount of furlough payments that they are going to require more and more into returns. So clients are at greater risk of an inquiry with additional accountancy fees, as we've said. Clients may not be able to meet those costs, and it's sort of looking at ways to protect yourselves for the time that's spent handling any inquiry, not just relating to the job retention scheme or SCISS. It's everything. And I've got a slide in just a moment that shows a graph of claims that we've seen in 2021 up until the end of June. And there's a mass array of various things. As I said previously, it's not one specific area. So it is quite key if you haven't, which is the whole point we wanted to do this. If you haven't already got a scheme in place for fee protection, now might be worth considering how you could protect your fees, in the event of an inquiry. January's coming around. Sorry, shouldn't say the dreaded word. But post-January tends to be the time as well when the Connect system at the revenue goes a bit wild and starts issuing out lots of inquiries more so. So now it is a time to sort of start looking at it, and hopefully myself and Simon can sort of discuss with you, talk to you, show you how it can add value, add additional income, benefits to you as a practice, not just protecting your fees, but it is also the other added benefits that go with it. So
Michael, just before you go on to that bit, I've got a couple of questions, both from David, funnily enough. The first, David said, what or where is the definition of fraud in these claims? How are you defining fraud?
I may have to come back to you on that with a solid, correct answer, as unfortunately I don't work within the claims department. But fraud, I guess it is if they are deeming it as, and it's quite clear, it has to be quite clear that it is fraud. if you can pick out that they shouldn't have been claiming this benefit, the furlough claims or the grants, it is quite clear that it's fraudulent, that they're claiming for something that they shouldn't be, and they'll know if they have, and you'll probably know it more so from what your clients do and various returns. I can't give really a solid answer, unfortunately, to that, but I will get something back from our senior claims handler to sort of say and give you a definitive answer. That's no problem at all.
That would be brilliant, Michael. Thank you.
Yeah,
so I think what David's probably getting at is that with some of the later CIS or the self-employed grants, there's quite a bit of subjectivity around whether they should or shouldn't be claimed, and whether they had lost income or not lost income, or whether they suffered, or whatever the language was. So that would be great if we could pass that on. And then David Buer has asked, that's quite a high percentage of open claims. Is there any reason for this? I.e., are they more recent and building up?
They are more recent. We're seeing more and more coming in the last sort of 6 months, certainly. But it's also the time handling them, getting responses back from the revenue, getting the information from clients, and just being able to close them off. But I think in the high proportion of the claims have been seen in the last 6 months. The help out to eat out inquiries, which have become more and more steadily over sort of the last five months, certainly. They're quite in depth. The information that's been asked for in one particular case of a restaurant, they were asking for table plans pre-COVID and post, showing social distancing. They were asking for bookings. Were they all pre-booked? Were they all made payment via debit, credit card? What were the cash payments? Then asking for till receipts. It's been quite a significant amount of detail required within those particular cases, that they're just generally taking time and getting responses back from the revenue, which is why they're still open. If I'm honest as well, which I try to be, it's also dependent on the accountant coming back to us and closing the claim. A lot of the time they can be left open and the payment's sitting there on the client portal, because with the fee protection, if you have an inquiry come in, you can upload it straight onto your portal and it will automatically pre-authorize an amount, so you can carry on doing the work. You're not waiting around for a decision from us. A lot of the information that we have is based on our claims portal, and if we haven't been advised that the claim is now closed, that will also give a high proportion that they're still open. So it's a mixed bag. It's down to the revenue, taking the time, the workload, and also just that we've not been notified that they are actually fully completed. So hopefully that answers the question.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you. And then Sarah's just popped in the chat box around finding out more. There'll be the usual details towards the end, Sarah, and there is also a special offer from a community point of view, that if we come together, then Vantage have done a bit of a deal, as long as you mention the Accounts Mastermind when you join. So all of those details will be shared at the end, Sarah. Brilliant. Thank you, Michael.
No, and that brings us on to the fee protection services, and at the bottom, we have secured preferential rates for members of the community, and whether that is directly with myself or through Simon, just use the reference TAM21, and fee protection is completely bespoke to your practice. We've got specific rates based on client numbers, your charge out rates, and it's always good just to have a discussion about what inquiries you're seeing as a practice, how you want to implement fee protection. All accountants do it in various different ways. We're quite flexible. You can have a policy where you cover the whole practice. You can have a policy where you embed it into your fees, invite clients to enroll on an optional client decide basis. or some will automatically enroll clients and advise them to opt out. And it's just about offering these additional services. What we've brought to yourselves through the community is a market leading policy. There's a lot of cover that we have that there are other providers. They are very good. They have a full policy, but what tends to be within their summary that they don't cover: quarterly returns, pension auto enrollment, student loans, pop-up, gift aid, inheritance tax, probate. Not necessarily all accountants will get involved with, but become more and more as we go into MTD, as it's been pushed back to 23. The bookkeepers will likely submit quarterly returns as well, and they'll become another avenue for revenue from HMRC to inquire into. Their returns will all be covered. CJRS, SCISS, that's CJ COVID job retention scheme. Majority say they will cover it, but they're very sketchy on sort of the terms. SCISS, a lot of the other providers won't cover it because it was submitted by the client. Although we see it that the accountant, the agent, yourselves will be doing the work, so your time should be recoverable. And that's one thing that we've written into the policy to make sure that is covered. So everyone part of the community will have access to somebody who has a vast many years of experience in tax. Depending on where you are within the country, you're given a specific claims handler. They can work with you. They will discuss any inquiry, help you, support you through it, and using their knowledge and to make a decision on the claims. But as I said, the portal will authorize time immediately, so you can continue to service and look after your clients, which is the #1 goal, right? To give 100% attention to your client, as well as making sure your time is fully recoverable. It includes unlimited access to tax and VAT advice lines. It also has the functionality to email. So again, it's all about service and you being able to service your clients. If you don't want to spend the time speaking to our advisors, you can email. Usually it's taxadvice@vantageprotect.com or VAT advice. Put your queries through to them. If you specify callback time, they're normally really good at getting back to you in the time frame. Figures from January this year, busy time for our guys on the advice lines. 93% of calls that were received were answered within the first call. Those that do go into overflow, I remember on a particular day we'd had over 250 calls. There were only 12 calls that had gone into overflow. All those 12 calls were returned within 2 hours. So they're really hot. Service is a big key thing for us. It's about looking after you, looking after your clients, and delivering the utmost level of service. If you can't get on the phone with us, again, the email, request a callback time. What our guys do, they will find the information, the data sources, they ring you back and they talk you through it. And this is where we differ from any other provider. We put it back to you in writing and give you that data source, give you the links to where the information came from, because sometimes it can be a lot to take in over the phone. So that is quite key to have it, and that reassurance to have it in writing. There are other providers out there will put that down as consultancy and charge you for it. We do it as standard as part of the tax and VAT advice service that we provide to you. Your clients and yourself, of course, also get access to employment health and safety and business legal advice lines. It's something to add to your practice. You will know your client best, and as they get back to working, change contracts, working remotely, the business world has changed. Our guys are there to support you and support your clients, give expert HR advice, talk about employment law, talk about new contracts, help sign up with the paperwork, changing things. That's what they're there for. Whereas normally you wouldn't be able to add that service to your practice. You'd probably advising your clients to speak to a solicitor or HR company, but they're on hand to support you and your clients. And usually if you sign up, you have a little like business card that either can be done on PDF, electronic, or hard thing. So you can actually give those to your clients, which are quite handy to have. They work well as coasters as well for your coffee mug. So there is access as well to topical tax update webinars. There's, in terms of backdated content, roughly about 54 hours on there. When we do webinars through the client portal, you don't have to sit in on them live. It's a multi-access link. So if you or any employees, you want them to pick up on any certain tax areas, those webinars are there accessible, and they are CPD qualifying, all complete with course notes as well. Again, those services alone, unlimited access, free access, and the backdated catalogue of everything that's in there. Rebecca Benworth has done a lot of those webinars for us as well. And over the last 18 months, with everything that's been going on, there's so much content on there as well that will help. And if there's something that you can't find, or there's anything that you're finding, we will do a piece on, we will find the information. We will also regularly report back to our tax and VAT advisors, who are all in-house, I should add. We don't outsource. They are a team of about 25 tax and VAT advisors, and they report weekly, and we produce a lot of content on there to help you guys. In conjunction with the advice lines, your clients do have access to, it says QED, but it's actually like a library, a document library. Quest is a part of the Vantage group. They do all the HR, the employment law, the legal, they put all the documents together. We're all in the same building, we're all part of the same group. Is having a bit of a rebrand, but it's the Quest employment document library, which is QED. And again, it's everything that is HR, everything that's health and safety, just to give you and your clients guidance. So wanted to give you, is there any questions, anything on sort of the services, the benefits of fee protection?
I haven't got any questions in the Q&A box or the chat box, but I do have a question from Luke that we could answer, I think, quite quickly. Luke says, we have two separate practices. They have a different target market and clients, both separate limited companies under a group holding company. Can we get one policy to cover both, or would Luke need two separate policies for the two separate companies?
Depending on the turnover, we may be able to sort of group them together as one. If the returns are completely separate for each, which they would be, you would do two separate ones. But if we look at what their turnover is, it may be sort of worthwhile giving sort of a group discount and grouping them together. But we'd look at it on an individual case-by-case basis.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you, Michael.
Welcome. So let's just give you, in terms of, before I come on to the claims, we probably sort of should discuss as well servicing the fee protection, how you put it out to your clients. You can set up marketing campaigns. We provide the template of the letters, the literature, and we can even do the letters or email campaign. A lot like the email campaign where you set a web shop up in the background. We can help with collecting the premiums, or you can direct the client to pay you directly. So you have as much control of it as you like. All client practice policy, everybody's covered. It is what it is on the tin. The unit premiums per client, we've got, as we've said, preferential rates for the community based on client numbers, and that we can sort of advise you of as and when, if you want to inquire about the cost of the fee protection, that we'll base them on each practice. On an optional client decide scheme, it is no minimum order value. There is no risk, no financial risk to you as a practice. The only provider in the market that does this. So if you have one client take up the policy, 10, no one take up the policy, you're not at any financial risk whatsoever. If one client takes up the policy, that one client is the one that's covered. It's you giving your clients the ability to protect your fees. You're protecting yourself. Should there be an inquiry, would they prefer to have a bill for your time, because the inquiry work falls outside your usual service agreement, your usual fees, and should be charged back to them. A lot of the work during COVID was probably done out the goodness of your heart, and you did it free of charge. Historically, a lot of the inquiry work may have just been a simple call to the revenue, a quick letter, a quick fire off, and it's dealt with. But it all adds up in terms of time. And as we're seeing more and more inquiries, certainly now, as we've seen, £770 average sort of claim, it soon mounts up, and it's a lot to be sort of just throwing to the curbside as such. So you can offer it to your clients on an optional basis. Those that want to take it can. We, as I said, support with the marketing material. We can do it all on your behalf. You supply a client list, all GDPR protected. We set up the letterheads with your logo, your signature on the bottom, so the end client sees a letter coming in and they feel it's from you. They wouldn't know that we've done the mailing on their behalf. They're then invited to pay for the services. An accountant's add a markup, and 9 times out of 10 they add a markup to add value from it, make a bit of revenue for that admin time, for doing the marketing. Or if we're doing it, it's just purely revenue for the added service. And we can collect the premiums, pay you back your portion. We don't take any additional commission or fees for doing that. It's about generating client participation and getting your clients on board. The web shop you can do via an email link, put on the bottom of your signature. If you're interested in tax fee protection, speak to me or click this link. You would have a white label web shop that we set up, again, color coded to your practice, your logo on there, same as your website. We'll match everything up. Clients click the link, can purchase it online, see what fee protection is, why they should have it, see all the additional benefits that they get, the employment, the health and safety, the legal advice lines, and then they can purchase, as I said, online. Again, that in the background has got the functionality to take our net premium plus IPT off and pay you back your portion. So you don't really need to do anything. So many times, a number of accountants come to me and say, oh, I don't want the admin. I don't want the hassle. I don't want the aggro of dealing with it. And it is really straightforward. We can do as much or as little as you want us to. We can help you and support you in terms of offering a fee protection policy. So hopefully that gives you sort of an insight into how you could potentially have a fee protection and protect yourselves for any future inquiries and work that you might have to handle.
So I've got a couple of questions, Michael. Julie has said, Do you know what the average annual uplift on a policy price is? As a competitor of yours increased my fees by 43% this year.
Obviously, because of your particular case, it does seem like a ridiculously high increase. I'll give you a scenario of a client of mine 4 years ago. Had a loss ratio of 236%, and the increase, because I handle all the renewals of my clients, I look after from start to finish and throughout the year. In terms of their increase, they only had a 6% increase. We see a client as someone that we want to keep and work with for the long period. For now, they're still a client now. Premiums reviewed year on year, bring them down. I'm an honest man in terms of my renewals, and I will be as clear as frank. If there has been no claims, then I will not be applying an increase on your renewal. That is given. Why would you increase something in terms of premiums when there's not been a claims? If anything, we will look at the risk, make sure the premiums are sustainable, and in a lot of cases they've even had reductions. But I've never seen an increase of more than, well, I was going to say I've not seen an increase of more than sort of 18%, 20%, and I've been with Vantage for 6.5 years, and 43% is. I'd like to know also whether the policy was an all client scheme or whether it was an optional client decide policy. Some of the other providers lately have been putting minimum order values. So if they're an optional client decide scheme, they've applied a minimum order value, and 9 times out of 10, when we've looked at the charge out rate, we've looked at the claims, the inquiries, what they've sort of been into. A lot of the time, you can take them as spikes. We'll always ask for the last 3 years. If you can provide a 4-year, 5-year report, which if you've got fee protection already, you'll be able to get off your portal, claims portal. We'll always put that into the calculator. We can look at our underwriting and get a decision. But that 40% seems a significantly high increase. I wonder if it was because they're now applying minimum order value, which again puts you at risk. You have to reach a certain value, and if clients aren't partaking, they're not receptive to the fee protection, you're out of pocket before you've even started. I have found when quoting, I think our rates are very, very favourable as part of the community. You'll find that actually, when you look at it, you might be able to have cover everybody on an all client policy and factor it into fees quite easily. One thing to look at is when did you last look at your fees and increase them slightly to accommodate an all client. With the benefit that it brings, you'll be able to provide your clients with something else that other accountants may not necessarily have. Again, employment, health and safety, the business legal. So to come back to the question, that's a high increase. I see the most I've seen is sort of 18%, but that was because of claims experience. Policies that I look after, I've personally not had an increase of more than sort of 6% on a policy, which we price sustainably from the outright.
Okay, thank you, Michael. Judy's popped in the chat box that it was an all-client scheme and she'd never claimed on it either. So something is, well, it's definitely worth having a conversation with you to see whether that can be amended or corrected or improved upon, perhaps is a better phrase. I've also got a question from Graham directed at me, and Graham's asked, Simon, with a full practice cover scheme, do you advise your clients of this and build it into their fees? If so, how do you record and monitor those that wish to opt out? So Graham, we've done it both ways over the years. We started with an opt-in policy where every July we used to write to all of the customers and say, if you would like this service, it's going to be 175 quid or whatever it is. And they would then say yes, we would raise an invoice, we would chase for the money, and I always treated that as my holiday money. So I spent a couple of Saturdays in July going through that process, and the profit on that was my holiday cash, for want of a better phrase. But it was a bull's ache doing all of that admin. So in 2010, we changed to an all-client policy, and we wrote to the customers, and we basically opted them in unless they opted out. And if I press that magic button, you should be able to see, obviously it updates the date, but you'll see it's from 2010. And we talked about prices for the service began at 170 quid. We're now going to insure all customers, and we plan to charge you an additional 3.6% of the accountancy fee. So we wrote to them. That kicked off from the 1st of August 2010. We then edged our bets and said if 5% of customers opt out, we will suffer the loss. If 10% of the customers opt out, then we would continue with the same charging structure, the £175 that we did. We then reconfirmed the benefits and said that they'd got to notify us by the 6th of August if they didn't want that service. So I know it was just over 400 clients that we wrote to, and 2 of those clients opted out, one of which opted back in after I had a telephone call with them explaining the benefits. So we had 1 out of just over 400. We've ran this process. I've ran this process with full members of the Mastermind community. They've taken that letter and plagiarized it and did various different things with it. And the opt-out rates are generally incredibly low. So basically it's an Excel spreadsheet, just stick the names on, and if they ever have a claim, then obviously you know the names of the people that opted out. But I am very, very confident that if you write to the customers and tell them this is what you're going to do, a percentage of their accountancy fee, because it makes sense to them, and you're going to opt them in, unless they opt out, then the majority of them, the vast majority of them will opt in. So if you've got any other questions around that, Graham, then please feel free to pop that in the Q&A box. That's all the questions that we've got there at the moment, Michael.
Perfect. I mean, touching on how you've run your scheme for the last 10 years, it just showed that way has far less admin with it. But as I've touched on, there is the optional basis as well. So if anyone is worried initially of the financial risk and our clients receptive to it, we can help and support with marketing and onboarding. And you'll soon realize actually there's more benefit in an all client scheme, but there's no right way or wrong way of doing it. I'm quite open to looking at the policies. We've got the rates depending on client numbers, and they're sort of set out per client, per practice, and we can sort of discuss with each one individually how they want to run it going forward.
Thank you. And Sarah's just popped a question in the Q&A box. Was it to all clients? Sorry, was that to all clients, including tax return only clients, or just companies? It was companies, but the tax returns are included in the company fee for us. And we have very few personal tax only clients, high net worth individuals, and they all had a separate letter saying that it was 115 quid. We're going to opt you in. Alternatively, you tell us if you want to opt out. And again, very few of those opted out as well. But well, I think we've got 9 personal tax only clients at the moment out of over 600 now. So it's not really a very good, population, whatever. There's a posh language when you do a survey, a population to confirm whether that's right or not. Okay.
Perfect. Let me give you, where have we gone? I'll see if I can give you some claims figures as well that we wanted to. Has it gone? Are we back? Are we back on? Here we go. Let's Sorry about this. It's gone through all technical issues because I came off. Inquire. Here we go. So just to give you a bit of experience of the claims that we're seeing, these were made between January and June 21. Since we've started as a business in 2014, we re-entered back into the market. There's a whole load of history with Gough and then Gough Vantage and now Vantage. So going back, since the start we've accepted 95% of claims that we've received in, and we've only rejected 4.5%. That's of all claims that have come in, whether it's corporate tax, child tax credits, inheritance tax, simple inquiries, aspect inquiries, VAT repayments, full inquiries. We'll cover VAT visits, R&D claims, and now more so recently, COVID job retention, cease and the eat out to help out. But generally, there's not, and I've said before, there's not anything specific, no specific industry that's being targeted, no particular area. They're generally the revenue are generally looking into anything, anything that produced produces a repayment of tax. Of course, COVID is a big thing at the moment. The cease claims as well. Claims that won't cover is if it's deemed fraudulent or it's known to be fraudulent quite clearly that it's fraudulent. Summary, which gives sort of full extent of what the protection covers and what it doesn't cover. Same as most insurances, where it talks about if it won't cover work that you might have partaken from a letter. It's all to do when the revenue right to you and when the policy was taken out. So now's a good time to look at fee protection insurance, putting something in place ahead of those January returns as well, and just protecting yourselves going forward. So I did get something from our revenue, and I probably should have mentioned that, sorry, from our claims department about CJRS. They are all qualified from the outset until such time that the revenue have confirmed that the grants have been claimed incorrectly, and then no fees have been paid. So it is quite key that you look from the start. If you think something is not right, then sort of to come across it, attend to it immediately. And you can always sort of speak to our claims department before that work starts, and get the information, the support from our advisors and our senior claims handlers. You will all be given. We've got specifically for the community, as part of the group, we've got in place Sarah Brand and Anne Grundy, who have a vast many years of working in practice and handling working with the revenue and handling inquiries. So yeah, you're in good hands. There is a limit of indemnity within the policy. So under Code of Practice 8, £10,000 in any one claim in the annual year. Judicial reviews up to £10,000 any one claim. All other inquiries, we have a limit within the policy of 100,000. So highly unlikely you'll ever go over those bandings. So which is why we say the policy is full cover. There's no inner limits. No ceilings as such, other than that 100,000. But you can see from the graph that the blue is the number of claims that we've had in, and then the amounts that we paid out on the right hand side. So few cross tax inquiries, but they come with a high value. VAT repayment claims, a significant amount of those, and the average claim is around about £1,000, but 30 VAT claims. So that you can see sort of the values and the figures on the right hand side, the average claims cost. When you put it into numbers, it is a significant amount that you're either billing to your client and asking them to pay for, or you're doing out the goodness of your heart. That is pretty much everything from me with regards to fee protection. Does anyone have any questions? I know we've asked questions throughout, but is there anything else that anyone wants to ask?
I haven't got any more questions as it stands at the moment in the Q&A box or in the chat box. If anybody wants to get in contact with you, Michael, what's the best way of commencing a conversation?
We've got either my direct dial, which we can provide you with, or we've got my email, mgough@vantagefeeprotect.com, and then happy to have a discussion and can have a look at your practice and how it might best fit into you and what you do currently.
Brilliant. So Mark has just popped those contact details into the chat box. So that's mgough@vantagefeeprotect.com, or the telephone number. You just need to quote TAM 2021, TAM 20 or 2021, same difference, whatever it is. And then you'll get access to those special rates that we've agreed with Vantage. There are a couple of questions that came in on the registration form, Michael, that I just want to run down to make sure that we've covered them off. But if anybody else has got any other questions, if you want to pop them in the Q&A box or in the chat box, we will, or I will, or Michael will gladly answer them depending on who they're addressed to. So Julie asked, do you offer the technical support phone lines like other providers? And I think you said that you do, and the telephone number?
Yeah, unlimited free access to the tax and the VAT advisors, and we've also got the functionality to email your inquiries in as well, and all responses are put back in writing as well.
Thank you. And then Sarah asked, what percentage of claims are upheld, paid out on? And I think you just shared, if I was paying attention, it was 96%, was it?
Yeah, out of all the claims since we've started, 95.5%, so yeah, 96% of all claims have been upheld. Only 4.42%, I was told yesterday, have been rejected. So yeah, a significantly high number of claims are covered by the fee protection.
Thank you. And then Stephen asked, what is the current claims experience and any trends driving the claims, which I know we've covered off as part of the conversation. And then David's asked, what type of investigations are not covered? So is there anything specific that people might think is covered that's not covered?
So fraudulent COP9, and if the inquiries come in before the insurance has commenced, is pretty much to give a black and white response. If it's fraudulent COP9, then the policy won't cover it. Other than that, we will cover. It is a very, very comprehensive policy that no inner limits, you have full cover.
Brilliant. Thank you. So to get in touch with Michael to set up a conversation about how it might work for your practice and what the investment is, etc., etc. Oh, and David said, what about if there's an ongoing claim with another insurer? He's come back again.
Good question. Because it's a claims-based policy, if you're have fee protection with another provider, they will see your claim through in its entirety until it's closed. Even if you decide to move away from them. In the past, we've written legal letters, we've written emails back on your behalf from our claims department, stating why they should cover and continue to cover it in its entirety. It's a claims-based policy. One of the biggest things that does halt is an ongoing claim, and it shouldn't really. There's no reason why you can't switch to another provider if you've got an ongoing claim. They will look after you and into the terms and the benefits of their policy, and we will help support you to make sure that your time is still fully recoverable.
Thank you, Michael. So old claims stay with the old provider, and any new claims would obviously go through Vantage. And then Deborah's asked, if cover was purchased, what returns claims does it cover? E.g. returns not yet submitted. And what about CJRS claims already submitted?
Yeah, so it's from, if your policy starts from today, and then the revenue submit an inquiry into a return next week, if they're looking at last year's return, the previous year to that, it's covered. It's from the date that the revenue write to you, inquiring into said return.
So basically, anything that's already been submitted is covered from the day the cover starts. So if you start the cover today, everything that you've submitted up to and including today would be covered by that policy.
Would be covered, correct.
Brilliant. Excellent. Thank you. And Sarah's just said she's got to disappear now. Well, it's 10:30. It's got to disappear. It's been very interesting. So that's all the questions that we've got. Just checking all my different places. Yeah, that's all the questions that we've got in the chat box, Michael. So thank you to everybody for coming along and for asking the questions. We'll get clarity over that fraud thing and share that with you as well. Mark's just popped the contact details in the chat box, and I'll leave the webinar running for a little while so you can cut and paste those out. So just say thank you to everybody for asking the questions, and thank you, Michael, also for coming along and for sharing how Vantage Tax Protect works and the offer that you've got available for the members. That's brilliant. Thank you very much, Michael.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you, and I will see you, or we will see you all again soon. Thank you. Bye-bye. 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 Thank you for watching this video with Michael Gough from Vantage Tax Protect. I'm sure you have found it as interesting as what I did. Please remember to like the video. If you've got any questions or comments, pop them down below, and also subscribe to the channel so you can get more inspiring, challenging, and supporting videos straight in your inbox. You'll also see on the screen right now 2 further videos that we suggest you watch in order to progress further.